Thanks everyone for coming to the Beginner Strats panel. Yeah, I'm joined by two people who, I was going to say don't need any introduction, but if it's Beginner Strats, perhaps people don't know who you are. So do you want to do a very quick self-intro and maybe share a little bit about how you got into Clocktower and your first experiences with the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. I am Adam. I first got into Clocktower by building my own bootleg copy and including it in my top 10 board games of all time. I was then contacted by the wonderful Daddy Ben, being just like, hey, we noticed that you sort of stole our game, but also we noticed that you like it. So would you like me to come along and run a game of Clocktower for you guys for Board Game Club? And we said yes. And then it turned out to be the thing that had helped us all get here, which was lovely. And I've played countless games. I'm not very good after all of that time. So you're in good hands with this seminar.
Hi, I'm Dan. Well, you can see the first time I played this game in a video that we made.
Yes, indeed.
On NRB. I'm an actor, so I've done the whole, mafia drama game extravaganza very many times. So I was familiar with the concept, but then the mechanics and all of the rest of it was very baptism by fire, all available to be viewed. And actually, I haven't played this game outside of this group of people.
Oh, really?
Really ever.
Oh, wow.
So, I want to talk about beginner strats. We've got the expert and, in some ways, the beginner.
Fantastic. That's perfect. And I'm sure that was entirely planned when they put this panel together. So I'm going to get stuck in with some of the questions which we've got here, some of which were pre-planned, some of which have come from our audience. Just for anyone who has just trickled in, Discord link, you can put some live Q&A and questions in there as well. Starting off with the first one, I think this makes sense to start here. I think beginning this game can make people quite nervous, right? There's a lot of rules, there's a lot of roles. I think even just looking at a script, sometimes people can be put off immediately. What should you not worry about playing the game? Maybe what should you worry about as well, but particularly what is something that people worry about that actually doesn't really matter?
Don't worry about playing the game correctly. I think the only thing I struggle with the kind of the Clocktower-ness of it all is that they're emerged through like lots and lots of games, like perceived correct ways to play. Like if you are someone, you should be doing this. If you are a virgin, for example, you should be... Dan.
First person of the day laughing at virgin.
You should try harder.
You're a virgin, you're in the right place. But like you should be like seeking out a top 4 and seeking to die on the first day. There's no right way to play it. Don't be afraid of failure. Basically, is the thing that it's a very intense environment. It works really, really well at higher play counts, especially if you're evil. You get, because it's a involved, long game if played correctly. If it goes as well as the designers want it to go, it will go down to the top 3, and that normally is an hour to an hour and a half of time investment. And having that length of time and having such a social experience resting on your shoulders, especially if you're red, can feel like a huge amount of pressure, and like you feel a huge sense of like, oh, I have to do what's right, not only by the game but by my evil team and by myself. There is no some of the best experiences I've had with this game have been instant cataclysmic failures. My very, 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 very first game that I remember loving was obviously we did the Billiard Boys thing. That was a incredibly failed plan, but it was really, really good fun, and it was the sort of thing that then motivated Ollie Davis to seek revenge for the rest of his adult life. These are things that follow you around. I remember like my favorite game perhaps is Panic with a New Face, where lovely Sullivan, who's in the back of the room, everyone turn and suddenly look at Sullivan.
Hi, Sully.
Sullivan outed him.
Note that Terry was the one waving. Like,
If
you didn't know who Sullivan was.
It's Sullivan Brown's stunt double.
Can't tell them apart.
Sullivan will be set on fire at some point during this Q&A. But in a very strict sense, Sullivan as the demon outed himself as Clockmaker, which is, the character that you kill immediately on the first day of a sex and violence game because you have the Vortox. But Sullivan managed to survive, kept surviving, ended up being snake charmed, and it was genuinely the best roller coaster I've ever been a part of. Even though, technically speaking, on the first day, there was like a blunder that some people would view as a blunder, but actually it ended up being the best, most enjoyable game of Clocktower. Still, looking back on it, it's in my top 3 games that we ever did. So there is no such thing as like a bad move. Just style it out and make a memory. That is the best thing. Just don't ever worry about screwing up because it's by its own nature a fun game. And as long as everyone goes to it, like we're going to try and have as much of a fun time as we can, you can't really go wrong. And just talk to your storyteller. The storyteller's there to help you, always.
That, and also I would say don't really worry. Remind me the wording of this question.
The wording was, what shouldn't you worry about in a game?
Okay, don't worry about what everyone else's role does necessarily. Because first of all, you got the cheat sheet, so that's all there. But as long as you know what you do over the course of the game, as you say, because it's a really long game, and because you stay conscious, if not alive, through the course of this game, there's not a time limit to understand how everything works. So I feel like as long as you know what you do very well, when you start having those conversations, people say, I'm this, more often than not, they'll tell you what their role does. Yeah. And then as long as you sort of take that in a little bit, over the course of the game, you can start to see whether or not that adds up. And that's how I feel like sometimes it's obviously like a group game insofar as you are an evil team, you are a good team. But if you play your own sort of game as well, you can figure things out along the way. So I think don't worry too much about knowing every role in the script, because there's so many.
I have one more thing as well. Don't worry about drunken poisoning too much either, because a good balanced script always has opportunities for drunkenness and it always has opportunities for poisoning, which means you can never trust your information almost at any point unless you're a virgin. But I would say try not to let that preoccupy you. Try not to be preoccupied the entire time with the fact that your information could be wrong. I think, because especially if you're playing in a large group, the number of people whose information will be wrong is very small. Like, you might think all the time that, oh, my information's probably wrong, but actually the odds of your information being wrong are small. So just, especially in the early going, just trust your information and see where it takes you. Even though, be open to your information being wrong, but don't worry too much about the whole drunkenness and poisonous thing until it then comes up, until your information cannot be anything but wrong. Trust your information and build a world off that, because it will make you immediately feel more secure. Because that's the thing about Clocktower, is you can go in, and because every single bit of information could be wrong and every single power could break because of drunkenness and poisoning, you can get overwhelmed with the idea of, well, nothing means anything. But actually, the odds are your information is right, so go with it.
Is it Schrodinger's information? Is that the correct use of Schrodinger?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there can be a temptation to almost mechanically solve the game, and sometimes that leads people to overthinking and going down these rabbit holes when actually, at the end of the day, it's a game, you're there to have fun. So, which for some people, not naming any Maras, is the fun way is to mechanically solve the game. But my first time doing Clocktower Live with Mara, there was a point where Mara just went, and this means this, and this means this, and this means this. Oh, we're supposed to be being funny, aren't we? But anyway, we've got 2 related questions here. What's your best advice for playing your first game as good? And then, conversely, what's your best advice for playing your first game as evil?
Certainly, my best advice for playing the first game as evil is on the first day, find Dan Layton. Take him to one side and lie directly to his face, because he will believe you every single time. He's a sweet, trusting, open soul, and every single time I would take Dan Layton to one side and be like, I know our history, but I know every single time I've lied to you, but this is the one time I'm telling the truth. And the next time will be the first time that I'm telling you the truth.
Call me a cockeyed optimist. But at some point, that has to be true, right? So, why not bank on it being... So I've played good, I think I played evil twice. So I don't really have too much to tell you about how to play evil, other than, hold your breath, clench, and go for it. But playing good, it kind of ties in with the information thing, the drunk and the poison. Like, honestly, in those early rounds, you do kind of just have to go with it and go, okay, this is what you're saying, and this is what you're saying. And I can start to build a little world, fill my little world right up. And then over the course of the game, it will start to unpack. Also, it's sort of a similar thing about not worrying too much about it. Sometimes I have just used my ability straight away when maybe the smarter, more logical thing is to wait. And actually that's given me a little like anchor to cling to for the game and then start to make like sense. The last game of the first season of the lives that we did, the In Studios, I had one piece of information from the very beginning that led me to follow that information the whole way through. And I was right, except for one tiny bit. But ultimately I was right from the first day.
This is Dan's vindication podcast.
The vindication was real. I was very proud. But it's that thing of like, yeah, just sort of trust in your source. And trust it when Adam comes and tells you that he's good, because at some point he will be. And you'll be like, wow, look at that faith I showed in you was worth it.
By sheer law of large numbers, I will be good one day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go.
I would also say, like, when you're evil, because I do get evil a lot, I would say find your other evil teammates and talk to them. Because there is you feel like when you pull a red token, you feel like the entire room is watching you. There's a huge pressure that comes from knowing who the evil team members are, because you feel like everyone can see you. You feel like you've given it away with your face. You feel like you're giving it away with your body language. You feel like you're giving it away with an elevated heart rate. So you feel like, oh God, I can't talk to my evil team members because everyone's watching me and they could see me. Don't do that, because everyone is worried. Everyone is going off and finding people to talk to. Talk to your evil people on the first day, because honestly, half the time people won't notice you're not even in the room. Everyone's trying to puzzle out their own stuff. The first day you get a massive fog over you, being just like, okay, what do I do? I know my neighbors one of them is bad. I'll talk to both my neighbors. Everyone's following their own kind of tunnel vision approach. So you're not actually being perceived as much as you would be in the later game. Find your evil team, especially find your demon, get your bluff. Don't worry about like, oh my God, we can't talk to each other, because then people will know it's not that. Like, definitely try and find your evil team, because then you can form a better plan and you can have a bit more of a safety net if you've got a bluff. Then you can serve your demon better, even though you think you're actually drawing a massive target around them. You're not, because everyone's like worried. So don't worry about it.
Okay, I think tying into that quite nicely. So something that I've noticed from starting to play until now is that I think a big change from beginner players to more experienced players is that you start to bluff more when you're good as well. So I think when you start out, you're always bluffing when you're evil, and then when you're good, you're like, well, I don't need to lie, I'll just tell people what I am. So the question here is, as a good player, how do you decide A, when to drop your bluff, and B, who to actually share your information with? So who do you confide in that you are bluffing and what your true role is? And when and how do you decide to stop that bluff and come out with your true role?
Because the sort of downside to being open immediately is that you do put yourself in the path of the evil team for not even necessarily death, things like poisoning, things like whatever, that can then maybe make your ability wonky. Yeah. So you don't want to do it straight away, unless you've used it already, in which case it's the information thing. The more information the group has, the better it is to play, the more fun it is, right? So like, if I found information straight away, I can just tell you what I am. That doesn't mean people will believe you, right? So if you're wondering whether or not, I'm going to get people, like, no, that's not it. Like, they might believe you, they might not believe you, so you might as well do it. But then if you've got something where I think there's an element of gut instinct, which doesn't always work out for you, does it?
Hey.
I'm talking about my gut instinct.
Oh, sure.
Like, it doesn't always work, but I think sometimes you can, after 3 or 4 days, you can start to go like, you're not adding up to me. Or, yeah, this is the one. I've found my little circle of just 1 or 2 people I think is a good, basically anytime.
Vibes, yeah.
I always pick someone to hard claim to on the first day. I throw a dart at the wall, and either the first conversation I have or the second conversation I have. If I'm good, I will hard claim on the first day. And you know, like if you end up telling an evil team member, fine, you never mind. It's one of those things. I would much rather have one person who knows who I am, and then later on in the game when we start to build the world, I at least have one person who I've told who I am for sure. They can have my back. I definitely said that. I feel so much more free when I'm playing. Like it's not always a good strategy, especially if you're a powerful role. But if you find someone who, you know, just say, hey, I'm this person, because it might, you know, if you hard claim to someone, they might hard claim to you. And then you've got a little something you've got a little kernel, a little corner of the game, which is for you. And you can find you can build your world out of that. And yeah, they may be lying to you, but just keep an eye on your person. Just like form up a little kind of like trust circle, because it does require trust, but do it because it honestly, like feeling on your own and like, oh, I can't tell anyone my information is rough. Like role swap is a really good one. If you can find someone who's willing to hard claim with you on the first day, you're powerful and they're not, role swap, and then everyone else can start. Because then you can get the information that there is a fortune teller out there into the room, but it's coming from somewhere else. And then, you know, the best possible thing, right? If you found a person who's already got all their information and they get killed, you'd be like, right, who did you speak to? Who did you tell that you were my powerful role? And you start to build like a list of suspects, but that can only happen if you just take the plunge and trust someone. And if it backfires, sod it. It's a game, it's a really fun game, and yeah, hopefully you'll get a really good like memory out of that.
Lovely stuff. We've sort of touched on this one a little bit already, but what's a notable time that you screwed up, but it didn't ruin the game?
Okay.
In the context of the game, okay, because I've 35 years to go through. Like,
Yeah, we've only got 40 minutes left of the match.
I was going to bring up the Tempest one, but then you said didn't ruin the game. Okay, so that removes that option. I mean, I've screwed up loads of times. My favorite, my actual favorite game of Clocktower is the Kickstarter one we did for season 1, a royal blunder, where I made the biggest possible mistake you ever can make as a demon with a choir boy on the script.
and nobody listens to Pete, did
And
they?
no one listened to him. And we had Ken, and then I was just like, oh, fuck, I better pull the ripcord. I'll go and tell Ken everything and bluff he's my marionette. And Ken was like, oh, I'm pretty dyed-in-the-wool good. So I'm pretty sure Adam just told me this, and this about the evil team. I had 2 back-to-back kind of like the worst games, but that created that sense of wonderful panic. That created that kind of like, oh, I've now got 8 plates I've got to keep spinning, and we ended up winning the game through a damsel hit. Just the most in the trenches I've ever felt. Like being the general of a squad, and I just immediately shoot myself in the leg and be like, squad, go on without me, but carry me with you. I don't think that ruined the game because it did create that just horrible, lightning sense of like dread. Like everything felt like electrified and much more urgent the moment I made a cataclysmic error that put a gigantic target on me, because everyone was just like, Adam's played this game. He can't be that stupid.
Yeah.
Literally, I had the meta of Adam's not stupid enough to do this working in my favor, and it was the only thing that ended up working in my favor.
I watched that back like a couple months ago, and I'm sat there going, no, surely we figure it out.
Sorry, I'm misremembering this.
At some point we have to believe Pete. Like he's just a little boy in his room with his finger in the air saying, hello, I have some news. No, we didn't.
Like, oh, interesting, Pete. You know exactly who the demon is. All right, we'll put a pin in that.
This is exactly what I was saying about you overthink things. You write off the obvious.
It's like,
going,
thanks for
we
sharing,
can construct
Pete.
a world where this doesn't make sense.
It's like, anyway, it's like having the winning lottery numbers and going like, no.
It's too simple.
I'm going to change that one. It's so interesting, the idea of like ruin a game, right?
Yeah, how do you define that?
For me, ruin a game is like, you know, outing someone having an affair, turning a table over, making people cry and leaving. Like, that's ruining a game. But like...
Which is why you're never invited out to
maybe that, like...
No marriages have ended, the game was not ruined.
The unseen episode. But I don't know that, like, you getting your role a bit wrong or maybe making a blunder ruins the game as long as do you know what I mean? As long as you've had a little bit of fun. Maybe this is an avant-garde answer to this question. I think, because for me, the example that I used earlier on where I fundamentally did not understand what the seamstress did. Initially, I was like, I can use myself as a control. No. And then I was like, okay, I have to use this several nights in a row. Great, perfect, I can do that. No. So I did it straight away. And that, in a way, I'm sat there in the game going, oh, fuck this. I've royally fucked this for myself. I have no idea. This was now pointless endeavor. But that ended up being the nugget of information that I could cling to for the rest of the game. And then, once again, if I may, was right. So in a way, I snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, but it was only the defeat that I put in my own head, if that makes sense. And that's why I feel like ruining the game, like in your example.
So just like, in the end, I had the last laugh.
Against me.
It's just so rare, you see. No, I feel like that's to the point that you say like, that, you know, that was a potential game ruiner or whatever. Yeah, I suppose if your aim of the, oh wow, I'm about to go full after school special and I've just heard the end of the sentence, so I'd like to prepare you all. If your aim of the game is to win, yeah, I suppose that would ruin the game. But if your aim of the game is to have a nice time with your friends.
Oh, boo, Dan Layton, boo.
Do you see what I mean? Do you know what I like? It's like, I think this is how I play this game. That's different to a few, you know, and maybe there's no right or wrong way to do anything. But I feel like I'm there going like, hey, if it was a good mystery and I didn't solve it, at least it was fun. Do you know what I mean? I don't see losing as the worst thing that could happen to me. So if I ruin a game by getting my thing wrong and our team doesn't win, oh, but we still had fun though, right? Didn't we? Didn't we?
I mean, the next question, literally the next question on the list is losing fun? And I think we've just touched on that, which is absolutely some of the most fun games you can have are the ones where you lost.
Game is hilarious. Yeah. How can you be cross at losing that game? Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, because it's a comedy of errors. Like we essentially just performed a Shakespeare play for everybody by being so bad.
Yeah, I think not only is losing fun, sometimes the most fun you have is when you've caused the loss as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, also like the point of the game is the solving, and obviously it's the most satisfying thing in the world when you do solve it. But half the time I'm like, oh, we solved it and we've won the game. And then the storyteller will read the grim to you and you're like, oh, I was wrong on everything.
Yeah.
And still won. So like, where's the victory in that?
We had a loss yesterday, which was incredibly fun. I was the virgin. I'll just pause for Dan Layton to laugh. I was a virgin. I pinged the very first day, and I was just waiting for the rest of the day for me to die because I was hard confirmed good. Everyone was coming to me and telling me their roles. I was building a little town. It was lovely, and I was just like, at some point I will die, and that will be fine. We got to the final day, and I was still alive. So there were 3 players, and I was absolutely, everyone knew I was good, and then there was sus on both the other 2 people. It turned out one was a minion and one was the demon, and we didn't have like enough votes to do like multiple things, so the entire room just said, Adam, whoever you choose, we will vote with. And I was like, oh good. Adam's choice. And I stood in the middle of the circle as Pattis counted down from 10 before he would end the day, and I was literally just trying to, and I picked someone, and they were the minion, not the demon, and the entire loss rested on my shoulders. But it was amazing because it was a huge kind of like moment of tension. It was a huge reveal, and then I could scream no to the sky as I got it wrong. And yeah, honestly, that is almost more fun than winning. And it was a great memory.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is quite apt for the times we live in. What's the biggest difference from playing online to in person, and how do you adapt your gameplay with that?
I think when playing it online, especially how we would film it, you get a lot more information online, I think. You have the chance to talk to more people. Your chats are way more private, so you can be more animated. For me, like one of the hardest things about playing in person is, again, just trying to kind of, because I've played so many more games online than I have in person, is trying to shield the body language and being aware of where everyone else is having their private chats, because you can feel very, very seen when you're playing it online. And also just like whispering to your neighbors is allowed. I keep forgetting that that's allowed because it feels like like, because when we would film it, we would be like, you can't talk to each other on Discord. Yeah, everything has to be said verbally. But I was like, yesterday in my first game, I was sat next to my demon, so I was just conferring like half the time in the game, just like, do we is that plan still a go? Yeah, the plan's still a go, the plan's still a go. And I keep forgetting that you can do that, and there's so many subtler ways you can impart information when you're playing in person. It's really great fun.
Specifically on the beginner's hype, when you're online, and it is partly the way we film it, but also it goes for when you're not filming it. When we're filming it, you've got a good 20, 30 minutes for the storytellers to do their bit, and we're just sat. And I'm literally sat there like, am I? Like, have they forgotten I'm here? Like, oh no, yeah, good, yeah. But even in a non-filmed one, you still have a period of time in the nighttime where you can look at the wiki, you can take notes in a notebook, you can be a little bit more analog with how you're planning your game and strategizing or whatever. Here's how does that roll work again? I'll take a second to look at that. So that is a really fun way of doing it as a beginner. Contrary to most things, I think actually Clocktower Online as a beginner is quite helpful. The difference in person is that the adrenaline is real.
Yeah.
And it is exactly as you say, it's that surreptitious thing of how do I have the conversation that I would have online behind a piece of paper, with a few words at a time maybe, and I'm that one, pointing at that one, rather than being able to say, I am this, this, or this. There's my 3 for 3. Oh yeah, having time to prep for a 3 for 3 is far less in person. So the adrenaline and the stress is a lot bigger. So I actually highly recommend online. If you're figuring out the game, it's a good way of just sort of laying out the land, I think. And you can whack your own tokens on your own private grim and be like, that's what I thought that person was. Now that doesn't make sense. And you can sort of see the game. You know what I mean? You can see it.
You can see how right or wrong you were at the end very
Always
easily
wrong.
as well.
Always wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would say, that note-taking thing is such a huge difference playing in person, because you go, okay, I need to actually remember what that person told me they were so that I can start building things.
The most crucial thing, because then you get to the towns and you're not waiting for lag, you're not waiting for someone's microphone to overlap someone else's microphone, so you can sort of see someone's got a point to make and whatever. So there's advantages to being in person as well in terms of understanding the game a bit better. I think I'm not being paid to promote this game. But you can play it online and in person.
Yeah, I think just one other completely practical thing for in person is obviously the storyteller has to do everything silently. Hand signals, so tapping you on the shoulder to wake you up. They're not going to say, pointing. 1, 2, 3, things like that. So just making sure that you're completely familiar with what your hand signals your storyteller uses.
Oh, also the first time I then played in person, speaking of the storyteller element, I didn't know what the little tokens were. Do you know what I mean? Where people are raising this.
So it's just a little party favor to take away with you.
Or they're even holding up something that says the demon is, and it's an X Factor reveal. And I'm like, what does that say? I've just woken my eyes up. I've been closed for 5. What, you know what I mean? It's that was a fascinating little extra wrinkle.
Yeah, so I would say, just if you're playing in person, particularly with a storyteller you've not played with before, just running through those at the top of the game is very important, just so you know exactly what information you're getting, and you're not like, well, did some sign language at me and I have no idea what it meant. So. How can you make sure people don't immediately social read you?
Well. What is a social read? Honestly, what? You go.
Be smarmy all the time. That is my advice. I really try to maintain how I play Clocktower, regardless of whether or not I'm good or evil. It feels crazy different in my head, crazy different. I feel so much more lost at sea when I'm evil than when I'm good. I feel so much more calm and relaxed, and I feel like I'm giving off exactly the same vibes, but it's often not the case. Most people, Holly Musgrave, can't read when I'm evil versus when I'm good. And social reads are hard because you don't know so much of someone's inner life. You don't know what they're if they're one of their first few games. You don't know if they've had information that they don't quite understand, or you don't know if they're just nervous because they're playing one of their first games, or nervous because they're playing Red for the very first time. So try not to hang too much on social reads, if only because also it makes people feel a little bit more kind of on the spot and like they're playing the game wrong, I think is how social reads can be. And at the end of the game, sure, social reads can be fine because you really are trying to use all the equipment in your arsenal to work out and puzzle out the game. But basing your stuff on social reads early on I've found sometimes make a player feel like they're playing the game wrong. Like, oh, I'm actually good, but I gave off the wrong vibe, therefore I'm playing this badly. So try not to hang too much. Try to make it about the information early on. And then sure, as the game goes on, you can bring social reads into it. Yesterday, I had a game where it wasn't quite a social read, it was like a meta thing, where someone nominated me just because there was a Khazali on the script, and a Khazali gets to choose their own evil team, and someone just said, well, look, I'm going to nominate Adam because he's here, and if there is a Khazali, they absolutely would make him one of their minions. And you know what? They were absolutely right. But I'm very glad that didn't go through because I wanted to play the game. And very often social plays can be making a person think that then they're doing it wrong and can prematurely take them out of the game. So keep them in your mind, but try not to bring them into the game in the first half, I would say. Yeah.
I also think because there's an element of it that like strips it away from the point of the game. Do you know what I mean? It's like we all pick a thing at random, like out of the bag. So it's not. It almost feels like the games are always random. So you're trying to figure out the game. You're trying to solve the grim rather than solve the person who's playing the game. I think it can sometimes, I think, give you then the impression that you're playing it on a different level to everyone else, if that makes sense. Both as the person who's not necessarily trying to social read, and as someone who's like, I figured everyone's mannerisms out. That means I'm playing this on a higher plane than the rest of you, and it's not always, especially in a brand new group of people. Like, they just might be intense. They just might be an intense person.
Also, and I'm not to drag the person who's paying our wages for being here, but we're not playing werewolf here, guys. Like, there's lots of information to go off. So base your first things on information rather than vibes, I would say,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, social reads can be good as a final, if you've got down to 2 people, and that's all you have left to choose between them, sure, use this person reads socially evil, this person reads socially good. At the end of the day, it's still probably a coin toss. I also think, we mentioned it before, bluffing more as good will actually help with this, because if you're only ever lying when you're evil, and you're not necessarily the most comfortable liar, that's going to make it easier to read when you're evil, because they'll be like, I don't think you're telling the truth. But if you bluff when you're good and when you're evil, then you're playing the game very similarly, whichever team you're on.
Yeah.
So I think social read, it's a good final tool in your tool belt, but it should never be your first. How can you find good games in your area?
This ties into the version question.
I was going to say, Grinder? Have you heard of Clocktower?
Hot town squares in your area. Oh, they're online, man. Like, it's so many people have like their own Discord groups. Ask around. Like Board Game Geek has loads and loads of really good plays. Look it up on Facebook. You'll find like dozens and dozens of places to play. And then when you go and find a place to play, ask around it. Like, does anyone know of any good Discord groups going? And you can like, if you find yourself in like even 2 or 3 Discord groups, then you could pretty much play a game every day of the week if you wanted to. Like, this game is always happening. Like, I know Ken's Discord group run like almost constantly, and just find yourself an in-person game, and someone in that game will almost definitely be part of a Discord, and it can snowball from there.
Yeah, no, I think it goes both ways. If you do in-person games, then you'll find the online games. If you do online games, they'll say, do you want to play in person once in a while? So it does really feed into it. But yeah, Discord really is, even if you don't generally use Discord, I'm in maybe 10 Discords, and I would say at least half of them are in some way related to Clocktower, and people will set up games from that. But yeah, you'll find like-minded people. Go to board game cafes as well. Go to places where geeky people hang out. You'll find like-minded people. So yeah, absolutely. How much do you rely on the storyteller to set everyone at ease versus players themselves all ensuring a stable environment?
Very good question. I do rely a lot on the storyteller. Like, I love storytelling. I will be storytelling some games after this if people want to play some games. But for me, like, I think that is your first. Like, honestly, if you are in any way nervous in your first game, don't necessarily ask your neighbors to help you through it. I've been in early games and I've been just like, can you explain to me what this power does? And of course I'm talking to a member of the evil team who is talking me through how to do my role. The storyteller is there for not only to like get the game to the final day and to make it fun for everyone, but they're also there to answer, like they are your Q&A. They are your walking wiki, basically. So just find them, they'll give you great advice. They will take the time to be with you and talk through your role, give you some tips, give you some tricks. Really, really rely on them. And like I've not encountered any storytellers that won't give you the time to, especially if you're new, to just make sure that you are completely at ease, not only with how your character works, but just any other kind of general rule fundamentals that you need going over.
Because I feel like, based on listening to Daddy Ben talk about putting games together and picking why certain tokens and characters are good and whatever for the benefit of a game. I feel like a storyteller's good time is having a good game. Yeah. And so it's to their benefit to have everybody feel comfortable, feel ready, to feel, like they can come and ask a question and go, and then like they can watch the game happen rather than, being like, well, you're on your own. Good luck, Virgin. I don't know, like it's...
I say no, you're not the Virgin as well.
I found a gag and I'm sticking to it.
No, absolutely. I think, look, but people generally won't get into storytelling if that's not their vibe, their personality,
Their game too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like anything else. It's like playing Dungeons and Dragons. People don't DM unless they feel comfortable creating that environment and supporting the story and everything. So it's the same. People do that. I would say from the other side, particularly as you're getting more experienced, you should be supporting the storyteller however you can in making it a fun and safe environment. But at the end of the day, if there's anything you're unsure about, the storyteller is there for exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly like a two-way street. I think you're not going to be a good storyteller. I don't think you're going to even want to storytell if you feel bothered by anyone coming up and asking for a rules clarification. Like no storyteller that I've never actually been in a game where the storyteller's been either annoyed or inconvenienced by you going up and just asking for a minute of their time to help you feel more at ease. I hate being a storyteller where I basically say, go off, you have 5 minutes, and then I'm just sat there for 5 minutes doing nothing.
Alone in the VIP.
Yeah. So very often you will, they are there for you. They are there to have the best game possible and there to have the closest call, especially if you're on the evil team. Storyteller doesn't pick sides, but they are on your side at the very early game if you're on the evil team. They are going to try and help you as best you can. So even though you feel like most isolated, storyteller is your best friend. They will make sure that you have a comfortable ride if you're on the evil team.
Also, a lot of scripts have a character who asks the storyteller questions specifically, so you can always use it as a bluff. Go and ask a mechanics question or just speak to the storyteller and then say, oh yeah, I'm the artist, of course I'm talking to the storyteller, so you can always work it into your game as well. We got a question came in about the bluffing when good. How do you choose your bluffs if you want to hide your real identity?
It's really tough because meta creeps up on everything. And so when you are a Raven's Keeper, right, you want to be killed by the demons, so you go around and lie about, oh, I'm the Undertaker, the Slayer, or the Fortune Teller. Wink. But meta has sort of crept up on that, where it's if you do go out and say your powerful roles, that's almost like a triple bluff and the demon won't kill you now. But honestly, it depends on the game. It depends on what you want to happen. I would say if you're bluffing as good, what do you want to happen in the next night? I would just focus on that. Do you want to survive the next night, or do you want to be attacked the next night? And just base it on that as best you can.
I would also say base it on, pick something that you know how it works, if that makes sense. Or rather, pick something that you know you'll be able to follow through if questioned. So if you bluff as a role where it's like, I get this information, and then 2 nights later someone's like, what was your information? You're like, I don't remember, or worse, you give information and they go, that's not, like, they're not even playing the game. I don't know how you've got information about Dave. Like you need to be able to consistently, follow it through. So like, I find it helpful to bluff as a role adjacent, like in terms of like, oh, I get information in the morning, or I get information in the night. I get, I don't tell you what it is, but I get information in the night, and that lets them sort of figure out which one it might be. It's not like foolproof, but it allows me to be able to buy myself a little bit more time and bluff safe in the knowledge that if pressed, I can sort of follow it through without having to play 2 games at once, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think if you're uncertain, there's usually roles that don't get any information as well. You can always bluff soldier, slayer, mayor, virgin. Yeah, you can always say you think you're drunk. So there's always safe bluffs as well. Also, and there's a question here which ties into it. You mentioned before doing a 3 for 3. You don't have to hard claim ever, but particularly on day 1, you can give 3 rolls in exchange for 3 rolls. There's various other ways you can do it, 2 for 2.
3 for 3s I still find quite intense though, because it means like, especially if you've not thought about it and you're put on the spot and someone says, do you want to do 3 for 3? And you're like, yeah, I'm this one, the demon. Huh. So yeah, like that is, I think we say 3 for 3 is like it's quite a simple thing. It can be stressful.
Yeah. It, as well as the try and prepare your three in advance, because it's something I keep doing. Like I never prepare my 3, and then I was just like, and then I just like, oh, I'm either the fortune teller, the Undertaker, or the so try and sell them roughly the same amount.
Do you have any other kind of related things that you could do if you don't want to give a hard claim and you don't want to do a 3 for 3? Do you have any kind of alternatives? Run. Yeah.
Yeah, scream directly. I like, going off of what you said earlier, like I prefer not to like out and out lie unless I directly want to be like attacked by the demon. That's the only time I try to bluff who I am, is it to make sure that I get attacked. Otherwise, I do try, if I'm going to talk to someone, I do try and give a general flavor, like a true flavor of what I do. Like I am an information gathering role, or I haven't gotten anything yet. I try for that to be true, because that's not enough for a demon to zero in on you. And I found if I completely lie about just even the general family of that I haven't really helped someone else build the world of the town, and I haven't really done anything for myself either. Like you don't want to say, I'm the empath, and I saw that you might be evil. Are you? Instead, I will say, like, I found something out, and I'm trying to coordinate, blah, 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 blah. Just the general vibe of the role. That being a true statement does help the person you're speaking to. Always try to, help the person you're speaking to.
Yeah. I found there's other ways to hedge as well. You can say I'm a role that begins with S or M, depending on what's on the script.
Like first is in bluff,
yeah,
not in canoe.
Or there's someone that I play some games with who started doing a day 1 thing where he won't ask out and out what your role is, but he'll say, if your icon was a pub sign, what would the name?
Yes!
What would the name of the pub be?
I love that.
I think that's great, So like you can look and you can go like, oh, like if you're the Virgin, you can say, oh, like, oh, it would be called the Promise or something, And it gives you enough leeway that you could try and spin it as something else, but there's always creative ways, and to not out and out just say what your role is, but also not have to worry about 3s and things like that.
It's not about bluffing, but it's a great way of like surprising someone into having fun in the game that they might just give you something that you weren't expecting. Is a question like that. I think my favorite one was, would you get a tattoo of your
That's brilliant.
Your symbol? And I was like, interesting, because no one's getting the tea lady tattoo.
I can think of one person in this room who might get the tea lady sign.
But But yeah, that's it. You know, it also keeps the game fresh. You know, it's not just because it can. I think if you play a lot, you can get to situations where you're like, okay, day one, I hard claim to one person. I do threes with a few other people. I'll bluff to this person. You know, like, and so just doing things like that also just keeps the game fresh, while also still getting some possibly mechanically useful information as well. How did you get comfortable playing as evil?
I'm not. I never will be. The only thing, like, try to remember that when you're evil, you know more about the town than anyone else in the room. You have that kind of inside track. Also, again, like I said earlier, like knowing that the storyteller starts off on your side. Like the storyteller will be working the room as best they can to try and, like, even if they put like an empath in, they'll try and have made them drunk if it's really, really relevant to you. Like they will try and make it so that you can't fail too big too early. So try and take some comfort in that. Finding your other evil team is the best way also to be comfortable. They can give you bluffs. They can be just like, right, here's my plan. Like they can tell you what they're planning on doing and you could help them. Like all of these things make you way more comfortable than just like isolating yourself and just thinking like, I can't talk to anyone, I have to lie all the time. I don't know what my bluffs are. Try and go out there and get as much information as you can too. And then just, yeah, like remember, just embrace failure if it happens. If you fail as the evil team, more people in the room will have had a fun game most of the time. Like the feeling of a good win where everyone rises to their feet and yes, we got them. That is more people in the room having a moment of triumph than your little band of evil schemers. You know, obviously an evil win is delicious, it's wonderful, it's the best feeling in the world. But knowing that even if you fail, you're making a lot of people very happy.
All right, Santa.
Santa's line, even if you fail, you're making a lot of people very happy.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, again, as we said, the point is to have fun, and everyone has their fun in different ways. So, you know, even if you don't enjoy playing evil as much, there'll be another game after.
Yeah, exactly.
And the chances are more often you're going to be playing good, theoretically. We've got a couple questions left. We've got about 10 minutes. Again, if anyone does want to submit some more questions, the link's still live on the Discord. This is a very specific one. Do you have any tips for playing the Nodashi? I always get immediately pinpointed after the poisoned neighbors are found.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I haven't played as Nodashi very often at all. In fact, I can't remember any time being the Nodashi. I mean, probably someone can correct me because I've played enough games online. But yeah, I mean, just working out what your neighbors do and then just trying, like that is your big, like when you're any other demon, finding your minions is like more often than not the most important thing. Finding out who your neighbors are and what they do as the Nodashi is really, really important. So then you can you have to then build a plausible world around what they're going to get and what they're going to get. And yeah, sometimes you can feel like you're massively in the spotlight, but that is just sort of the random nature of the game, right?
Yeah. I've never been the Nodashi, but sort of tying into the evil question in general. Often you can feel like you are inherently at the center of it and you are going to be absolutely taken out and you're pinpointed and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's because you know the answer. Whereas like other people in the room might have started to figure it out, but they haven't quite got there yet. There's still a world where, so like if someone latches onto the idea of a world where this is possible, be like, I want to hear that out. And it's not necessarily like that you're pushing for that world, but you're creating the space. It's something that happens on the traitors. You know the traitors, they've figured it out, and then someone pipes up and says, can I just say one more thing? And you're like, no, because now everyone's going to look at you, and we're going to have to deal with watching that guy on TV for a bit longer.
Ivan.
Primarily, yeah. But like, no, it's. I had a game where I was the Cleopatra. Yeah, it was well fun. And I thought I was having a great time. I was like, this is working out absolutely in my favor. And I watched the episode back, and Ben's like, well, Dan's fucked. It's over for Dan. But I had, so then I tell him like, I think I'm having a great day. Next shot is just Ben being like, I guess everyone has their own individual game, because like, I was having a good time. So there's always a way back in. And actually, you are playing your own game.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think something to bear in mind is unless you're playing like a homebrew script that hasn't been play tested at all, almost any script that has a role on it, there will be, all the other roles will work around it, and there's always a plausible reason other than, so if it's a Nodashi script, there should always be other roles there that would also explain why certain things have happened the way that they've happened. Yeah. So again, it's very, very difficult to mechanically solve Clocktower, and that's by design. So there's always other things there. What are your favorite roles to be given and why?
98% of the time I'm given the empath. I actually quite like it. I quite like the comfort of the specificity of the empath, and you're getting good information, and it's to do with the people around you. So it's like, okay, great, I can start. I've got a good starting point. I quite like it. It's a nice one.
The Wizard. It's my that is my favorite role, just because you get to do a little bit of game design in there. You have an amazing conversation with the storyteller. You have to come up with an OP power, because like OP powers, like single player powers, are like one of the reasons why I love gaming in like at all. Like Cosmic Encounter, everyone having like incredible game breaking powers, and then you're suddenly creating one in the middle of this kind of game that should be, and then it's the storyteller's job to then make it work, and you have that wonderful kind of conversation of, well, what's the price going to be? Your wish is my command. I love the Pit Hag, because again, that gives you just such joyous ability to tinker. Anything that gives you, like, I love any role where you're not, I don't like the top 4 roles. I feel really bad because they are so powerful. But I like roles where you play something every night, although as long as it's not the chambermaid, because I keep getting fucking chambermaid. But yeah, the wizard is 100% my favorite role.
I also quite like the gossip, because just by virtue of it creating a little bit of nonsense in the group.
Yeah.
But then also, like, you're in the room and someone's like, I want to gossip this, I want to gossip that, and we all have a bit of a laugh about it. But it gives you something, and it makes my brain work. I think in a different way, because, it's fun.
Yeah, I think any of those roles that's a bit different, juggler, gambler, things like that as well. But I think also it's just nice to play different roles. It's nice to get a bit of variety. So yeah, I've got one last question here. Is there anything from the room? Any questions from the room before we do one last?
I love this Discord vibe, because people feel so like pea-shy about putting their hands up.
Yeah, this is it. You get to do it anonymously as well. I don't know who any of.
Is pea-shy a word? Did I just make that up? Do you know what I mean?
Like when you're at the urinal and you can't pee because there's someone next to you.
Oh, right.
I knew what you meant. I don't know if it's an actual phrase, but
Maybe it's
I got
just
it.
like north of the M25.
So the last.
That was pure vodka.
The last question. That's a cue. The last question: are there any other good tips that you would give to a new player? Anything that we've not covered, or maybe if you could go back and give yourself a tip before your first game, what would you say?
I think my first tip for myself would be try not to go back and have like your second ever game of Blood on the Clocktower be one where you have to coordinate a shoot around it, because organizing those is a nightmare. But I think generally is, just like put less pressure on yourself is always going to be the number one tip I have in this. Like, as good player, you have so many more people on your side. As bad player, you have the storyteller on your side. Just be confident that there are people watching your back. And they, like, even though you have people hunting you out and distrusting you and social reading you and like nominating on vibes, and like it can seem a little cutthroat and it can seem intense because it's long and people get worked up. Just remember that, like, your own personal accountability to the game, just give yourself a break. Because especially early on in Clocktower, I put a lot of pressure on myself, not only to do well in my own sense, but also do well for content, which is really, really hard to like kind of have to try and juggle those two worlds. And yeah, it can be a game that if you have that pressure to perform well, it can make it a miserable experience. So just try and it's a hard thing to, it's easier said than done, but just like giving yourself a break. Because that's it. It's a really fun game if you let it be.
Yeah. Very that. And like a game inherently as a leisure activity, it's supposed to be fun. And the social element of this is that it's a group thing. So like, It is just don't put so much pressure on you being the one to solve it, or you being the one to nail your role or contribute the most, or, oh, I didn't contribute anything to that. By virtue of having a conversation in the group, you've contributed in some way. Whether or not your ability has fired in precisely the way it's supposed to and helped solve the game and been the final piece in the jigsaw, by being present and being part of the conversation and ultimately having a good time, I think that's maybe just that's the best way to do anything in life. Be present. Also let them. The let them theory works. Do you know about let them?
No, what's let them?
It's fucking Instagram. It's the wishy-washy TED Talk stuff, and I love it. I drink it up. Let other people be themselves. You can only focus on you.
Yeah, be the best bee that you can be. Yeah. I would say as well, don't put the pressure on yourself to solve it by yourself, because most times, if you're playing Clocktower, most people don't want one player around the town to solve it by themselves. You know, it's a collaborative effort when you're playing good, and so you even though you are starting to see the puzzle, it's not on you to solve it for everyone else. Offer your theories, but let your mind be changed. Because no one will ever walk out of a game if you were playing good, being just like, I can't believe you did not solve that game. You know, so just don't put your pressure on it to be the. It sounds ironic coming from me, considering what I've been accused of in Clocktower, but you're not the main character, and you don't have to be. So don't have that pressure. Don't put that pressure on yourself.
Lovely stuff. I think that's a great note to end on. So thanks very much, everyone, for coming. And a massive thank you to Adam and Dan. Thank you very much.
I'm going to go and grab my Grim and try and find an empty room if anyone wants to jump into a game of Trouble Brewing right now after we've just talked about it. Great.